Once upon a time, in a small cozy house at the edge of the town, lived a lovely granny named Sony. A lady of ruddy cheeks, twinkling eyes, and a smile that was as warm as a midsummer's day. She was loved by all in the town. Granny Sony was a wonderful person with a heart full of kindness, patience, and her house was full of the scent of freshly baked apple pies, a smell that attracted her neighbors, and especially her grandchildren, Fur and Eleazar. Fur and Eleazar were two energetic children, equally full of mischief and curiosity. On this particular weekend, they were going to spend the day with their adored Granny Sony. Their eyes sparkled with anticipation as they awaited to indulge in her warm things and stories that came to life. That Saturday afternoon, as the rain pattered gently on the roof, the three of them snuggled together on the large comfortable sofa, watching their favorite movies. The day was perfect, the warmth of the room, the smell of popcorn, and the laughter of the characters from the movie filled the air. Granny Sony, tired from her morning chores, fell asleep peacefully as the children continued to watch their movie, their giggles echoing softly in the background. Seeing her asleep, they began to whisper animatedly, formulating a plan to surprise their beloved granny. Giggling, they decided to make sandwiches for her. One small hitch in their plan was their disagreement. Fur wanted to make sweet, jam-filled sandwiches, while Eleazar desired savory and wanted to make ham sandwiches. With determination, each began to prepare their sandwich of choice in a tiny battle of sweets versus savories. The kitchen was soon filled with tiny footprints, drips of jam, small piles of ham, and a growing heap of dirty dishes. Oblivious to the mess, they continued their culinary journey, spilling ingredients, knocking over glasses, unraveling paper towels. Their excitement only grew given the chaos they had created. Granny Sony woke up to the ringing of her laughter bells, the clatter from the kitchen that echoed through the house. Sleepy-eyed, she ambled into the kitchen, wiping her glasses to see clearly. She looked at the mess and then at her grandchildren. They froze in their tracks, eyes wide in apprehension and fear of being scolded. The kitchen looked like a battlefield, evidence of their sandwich war. To their surprise, Sony chuckled, her eyes sparkling with amusement. She didn't scold them. Instead, she saw this as a window for teaching them a valuable lesson. Children, she began softly, life is like this kitchen. It can get messy when we can't agree with each other. We should always collaborate and work as a team. That way, we can finish tasks quicker, cleaner, and have a lot more fun. The children nodded, hanging on to her every word. Her gentle tone touched their hearts, and they began to understand the importance of teamwork. They looked at each other with a newfound respect. With that, the three of them started cleaning up the kitchen. They washed the dirty dishes, picked up the spilled ingredients, and wiped the countertops clean. They laughed and joked together, enjoying the unexpected cleaning session. After the cleanup, the trio decided to make new sandwiches together. This time, instead of sweet or savory, they opted for a fusion, making jam and ham sandwiches, a bit peculiar, but a perfect blend of their choices. They generously spread jam and layered the ham on the bread slices. Each sandwich was a result of their combined efforts, a symbol of their unity, and an outcome of their mutual understanding. Their sandwiches turned out to be an unusual but delicious combination. The sweet jam and the savory ham created a riot of flavors in their mouths. The recipe had become a unique creation of their team effort. They sat around the dining table, eating their sandwiches, their faces glowing with satisfaction and pride. It was not just about the sandwiches anymore. It was about the journey of making them. Their day ended with them exchanging stories, laughing at their earlier misadventures, and basking in the warmth of Granny Sony's love. They were no longer chefs battling in their culinary war zone, but teammates who had learned to work together. This day with Granny Sony was much more than just an ordinary weekend. It was a day filled with love, learning, and a sense of togetherness. They learned that unity and cooperation were the main ingredients in creating not just a delicious sandwich, but a happy life. As they bid their goodbye, they hugged Granny Sony tightly, promising to remember and apply the life lesson they learned that day. Sony kissed their foreheads and whispered a goodbye, her heart swelling with pride and satisfaction over their growth. The weekend ended, but the memories created that day were etched in their hearts forever. Every time they made a sandwich, they were reminded of Granny Sony's wisdom, the kitchen chaos, and the secret recipe for their unique sandwich. Granny Sony, sitting by the window while waving them goodbye, smiled. She knew Fur and Alazar had not only learned to make a sandwich, but had also grown a bit wiser and more understanding. That night, as she sat in her armchair, knitting quietly, she couldn't help but reminisce about the day. The laughter, the mess, the sandwiches, and the childlike innocence that had brought forth a profound learning experience. The kitchen was silent now, but the echoes of their laughter still lingered. There was no trace of the chaos anymore, only a sense of warmth and sweetness. All that was left was the memory of a day filled with joy, laughter, and a precious life lesson. The house returned to its normal quiet self, but it was richer from the day's experience. As for Granny Sony, she slept peacefully that night, knowing she had made a small yet significant impact on her grandchildren's lives.